Hello, everyone. So last time we talked about the cost of college, and what we in general learned from that is that college can be pretty expensive, whether you're looking at in-state, out-of-state, or private four-year college. And the question is, how can we lower that sticker price or cost of college that you see on brochures or websites? And you can do that by receiving financial aid that's going to remove some cost from this sticker price. Now, how do you get financial aid? Well, there's essentially two main steps, and today we'll be covering the first one. And this is basically the most important step that you can do for yourself in receiving financial aid. And that is the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. Now, the FAFSA is essentially a form that you fill out either manually and mail it in or through an app. And it asks you a bunch of questions about your finances, and we'll see this later when looking at an example. And based on that, it's going to determine your eligibility for aid. And it's not just federal aid, but also state-based aid and scholarships. Now, you might think, based on my income or my parents' income, I don't really know if I'll even qualify for financial aid. But you definitely, no matter what, should always give it a shot because you have a chance at getting aid, and this form is going to give that chance to you. Also, even for merit-based aid, that many colleges won't hand out unless you fill the FAFSA out. So the bottom line is you want to make sure to complete the FAFSA. Now, the form actually opens as early as October 1st. So you can probably go in October 1st and fill it out right then and there. Now, the deadline is around June 30th. That's the final deadline. However, you want to be careful here because individual schools and states have their own deadline for the FAFSA. So the school I'm going to in the fall, their deadline for the FAFSA was actually November 15th, not June 30th. So make sure to check those dates and fill it out as soon as possible. And finally, you probably want to fill this form out with your parents. Don't just push it on them and go hands off. Make sure you're there with them. But their information, like tax returns, is needed on this form, so you want to have some of their help. So now that you have a brief overview of what the FAFSA is, let's take a look at some resources that can help you fill it out and help you in this process. So this first link that I have here is the Federal Student Aid Office, and here they have all the details you need on completing the FAFSA. So, for example, the thing I just mentioned about deadlines and how your state deadline can vary compared to the June 30th deadline, the federal deadline. You can figure that out right here by typing in your state and year. Furthermore, there's also more details on how to complete the form, how to get help, how to renew your form. You actually submit a FAFSA every year. So this is not the first time you're going to be doing it. Every single school year, you're going to do this process. So, it can be really helpful to look at these resources online. There's also a bunch of in-depth videos on each part. And I'm actually going to show you the example of a FAFSA. So this is not filled out, but this is what it would look like if you were to use the mail-in version. The app version, it's going to essentially ask you the same questions. And you can see you first have, a bunch of questions just figuring out who you are you a U.S. citizen, and all these types of details. Then it's going to go into more details to figure out your finances. So it's going to talk about tax returns. It's going to talk about income. It's going to talk about your earnings and other concepts, like we have untaxed income here. So essentially, you're going to actually want to fill out a lot of this, right, yourself. But like I said, it can be helpful also to have your parent with you, especially since there is a section where your parent needs to fill out certain information. But again, this is a joint endeavor, right? You want to make sure that you are there too, because it's not just your parent who's going to be handling your finances for college, really you too want to be involved in it, and that's the whole idea of these courses, to help you take advantage of your own role in financial aid. So that's just a quick look at the FAFSA. Now we've also compiled some quick tips on the FAFSA. So as we just saw, the FAFSA asks a lot about your finances, so it can be really helpful to have some information handy. Talk to your parents and tell them, okay, I need to fill out the FAFSA. Can we get this information, right? For example, your tax returns, records of untaxed income, cash savings, checking accounts, investments, your social security number, like all of these data points are going to be useful in the determination of whether you're going to be eligible for financial aid, so you want to have them on hand. Now, I just showed you the mail-in version because that's an easy way to see the basic outline of the FAFSA, but I would actually recommend using the My Student Aid app. That's actually what I used and what a lot of my friends used, and it will walk you through the process and offer a lot of useful tips as you go along, because there's often a lot of questions as you're doing this regarding your individual circumstances, which you can also direct towards the office, but I found the app to be quite useful. So do try to check that out if you can. So this is just a quick overview of the FAFSA. Again, there's a lot of details, as you just saw in that large form. But if you go online and research more on the FAFSA, like I showed you, there's many, many resources on it. So hopefully now this is enough to start you off on your endeavor on filling out the FAFSA. And again, this is the most important thing you can do for yourself in financial aid. So thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you next time.